Has AI finally replaced all admin work? Well, something pretty big happened in the world of AI that could change everything. I'm Grant. I lead one of the top real estate teams here in Greater Houston, and this is Mega AI with Grant Rothberg. If you've been tuned in at all on the latest AI stuff, you've probably heard about Clawdbot. And the question people are asking is this the tool that finally delivers on the promise a lot of us thought AI would deliver on in helping us finally end once and for all these monotonous administrative tasks? Is this the thing that can do that? I'm going to break this down a little bit for us. And there's some really cool things about what Clawbot is. And first, for a lot of folks, this has been a really interesting tool that shows a lot of promise in that it really helps us take the brain of AI that lives in these LLMs like Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT and gives them hands to get out there in the real world. So if you've been using AI stuff for a while, you've seen popping up in your little tool tray for your LLM, connectors to your Gmail account, your Google account. You've seen things connecting to Excel sheets even. You've seen a way to connect a bunch of different apps and tools into your large language model of choice. And that's a place where we always talk about this idea of taking a brain that is something like ChatGPT or Claude, and then giving it some hands and some tools to get out there into the real world. And then comes along this thing called Clawdbot that promises to do some really cool stuff. Now, what this does first and foremost is it has just like potentially enormous context windows. And by that, we mean memory, the ability to remember things that it has learned about, and the ability to access other information without having to prompt it again and again or come up against those context window limits that we see in a lot of chat windows. This seems to overcome that with one user being able to run 180 million tokens through it in 1 week, which is pretty crazy. It's also really kind of a cool, promising thing because when a lot of us first started hearing about AI, we thought this was going to be amazing, like the Jetsons or something, where robots just start doing work for us. And we all dream of this world where I can just tell an AI to manage something like my sales funnel or my email account or my calendar, and it just knows what to do intuitively and just does stuff for me. And that's kind of what the promise is of a tool like this, where it has hands to reach out there and get stuff done in the real world. And what's really cool about this thing is it has the promise of connecting a bunch of different channels, things like WhatsApp or your Instagram stories or your email account or Telegram or Signal or all these different messaging tools that maybe you use, where I could just give some simple instructions to something like that. And it reaches out to this Clawdbot tool that lives on my computer, and then it can go kind of work like if I had an assistant at home who was on my machine at all times. Like if I were to call them or text them and ask them to pull up a file for me, this thing can do that for me. And that's pretty incredible, that promise. So it's really a cool thing to think about the idea where we can send in a message to our AI and it can access information that we have that's unique to us and just intuitively go do stuff. Now, you probably know about this. I'm referring to this thing as Clawdbot because that's the way it came out. Clawdbot got tons of hype in January and got a bunch of downloads. And then once they started getting some traction, they got hit by a company called Anthropic that owns a product called Claude, because sure enough, Clawdbot sounds a lot like Claude. They said it was too similar, so they got a cease and desist. They had to change the name, so they called this thing Moltbot instead. When they rebranded to Moltbot, like a lobster molting at the next level, some people hacked the name, created a fake cryptocurrency, stole millions of dollars from people, and then they changed the name once again now to its current name, which is called Openclaw. And Openclaw is interesting, same basic features, where this is a thing that lives on your computer, and you can give it some instructions, and it can go reach into your files. It can use your password to log into accounts and do a lot of really cool stuff. So I think it's a genuine look into the future of what AI can do. But here's the reality for it. This thing is not ready for prime time yet. And I would caution you, do not use do not use Openclaw unless you're like an IT genius and find some way to sandbox this thing where it's totally isolated from everything else. The security risks are just enormous because we're giving access to your computer and every email, every password, every API key to a AI that has no security protocols whatsoever, and that stores those things in a systematic way that other people know how to use and how to hack. So this is what the vice president of security engineering at Google said. She said, "My threat model is not your threat model, but it should be. Do not run Clawbot." The people at Cisco said, "This is a security nightmare." Someone else said, "It's like we've taken everything we've learned about internet security and data security over the last 30 years and have just thrown it out with a tool like this. It has access to all these passwords and all this information, and it's like grabbing a box of your most critical, important, sensitive files at home and putting it on the front porch so that other people can interact with it. Now, it's amazing because your accountant can come by and grab that stuff when they need to and do work with it, but also a stranger can do the same thing. So, in one way, the incredible functionality of a tool like this is offset by the fact that anybody in the world can also reach out to it and steal stuff from me that's incredibly sensitive. So, it's crazy high risk. In fact, somebody else tested this where they did this little 5-minute email hack. They sent an email to an account that was being watched by a Clawdbot on someone's computer, and it read the email, but because it had that AI brain still analyzing it, it took the instructions literally. And some of the instructions included information about how to set up malware on that person's computer. And within seconds, Clawdbot responded, thinking it was showing initiative being a great AI assistant, and provided the hackers with every API key, every password that the user had. Just completely opened up everything and blew the doors off of that user's security, all in 5 minutes or less. It's not a theoretical threat, it's a real one, and the liability is enormous. See, hackers know that we have tons of data in real estate, whether you're in the mortgage space or title, or you're a real estate team leader or brokerage owner. To have all that information about contracts and social security numbers sometimes, and to be a trusted source for people, a hacker is just salivating to take advantage of that. So this is a really cool tool, but should you use it right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is a hands off, do not touch, stay away for anyone in the real estate industry at this point. Now, the truth is, this shows us this key principle that sometimes being the first to adopt is not the same thing as being the first to adopt safely. You want to be careful right now in this world of AI where things are advancing so quickly. We want to be fast, but we need to be smart and we need to be secure. Resist the temptation to feel like you have to be the first one to use some new cool gadget. Instead, make sure that you're the first one to deploy it safely and responsibly. Your business requires that. Your clients deserve it. And man, the risk out there right now is enormous, where we just don't know what some of these tools can do. Something like Clawbot or Openclaw, like it is now, is an incredible glimpse of what could be and where AI is going to go before we know it. But this particular tool is not there yet. So don't use this, but start thinking about what the future would look like when we have these AI assistants that can do real meaningful work for us. It's coming soon. So I'm Grant Rothberg in Houston, and for now, that's all I've got. So I'm out.